This is a Brooklyn News special report.
This is a Brooklyn News special report. Goody with you. I'm Jackson Mitchell. Time now here is 10 a.m. in Brooklyn. We're coming on the air with day 2 of preliminary hearings in the Charlie Kirk case. Of course, Tyler Robinson, the man accused of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Right now, we are just now getting a live feed inside the courtroom, which is set to begin now at any moment. It is good to be with you here as we continue to stand by for this hearing to get back underway. Again, this is day 2 of the hearings, and it could get underway at any point. Now, to bring you up to date here, for just joining us here, on day 1, prosecutors began laying out their case, presenting surveillance video, testimony from investigators, and details they say connects Robinson directly to the shooting. Of course, the shooting that happened at Utah Valley University late last year. Prosecutors opened the 5-day hearing Monday by trying to show a judge that there, is enough evidence for the case against Tyler Robinson to move forward to trial. The first witness, former Utah Valley University police officer Christopher Bagley, who testified he was working security during Charlie Kirk's event when he heard the shot that killed Kirk. Bagley also testified about a rooftop area near the event where he said he found signs someone had been lying in a firing position. He described the area as a possible, quote, sniper pad, pointing to disturbed gravel and markings he said appeared consistent with someone positioning themselves with a line of sight to the stage. Now, later, the second person called to the stand here by the prosecution, investigator David Hull from the Utah Department of Public Safety, testified about the early stages of the investigation. Now, the court had also reviewed video evidence connected to the shooting, including graphic footage that, had not been shown publicly during the hearing. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk, and other family members were inside the courtroom for the first day of testimony. Now, it was widely reported that the family left during points when there were graphic insights, you could say, into the death of Charlie Kirk. Now, to kind of put this into perspective for you guys, this is not in any way a trial. It is the beginning of what could be a trial. Essentially, the judge now has to decide, is there enough evidence in this case for this to be brought to a trial. That is what this is all about and what is happening here. You just saw Judge Tony Graff there for a moment on your screen. Let's take you live there now to the courtroom and listen in.
Good morning, Your Honor. All right. Kathy Nestor, Michael Burt, Richard Novak, Stacy Visser here for Mr. Robinson, who's seated to my right.
Good morning, counsel. Good morning, Mr. Robinson. And for the record, the court also recognizes the presence of victim representative, Ms. Erica Kirk. Good morning. First, with respect to courtroom protocol, to maintain security and decorum, any individual who exits the courtroom during proceedings will not be permitted to re-enter until recess. All counsel are expected to take reasonable measures to safeguard confidential communication. Such measures may include the use of screen protections on electronic devices. All right, is it the audio working?
Sorry, Judge, the WebEx audio is not working.
All right, let's just take a brief moment. And just let me know when it appears to be working.
Alrighty, so it looks like they're, as we are listening in right now live here, they're beginning to work on some audio issues, which I was noticing
If you have any
as well here, because I was having to turn it
Feel
up.
free to drink them. It is a little bit warm in here today, so I will be drinking from my water, so don't hesitate to use that if you need to.
Essentially what I was saying there was I was having to turn up our audio pretty loud here, and now we're having, it's extremely loud here, so I'm trying to work on the audio levels behind the scenes as well as they're working on them inside the courtroom. Okay, so I'll just gotta keep talking so we're not here in silence. So right now they are working on the audio, and as I was noting a few moments ago, we were actually having some issues with the audio here. I had it almost turned to the max level, meaning like in a normal world, that means it would be peaking, so it means it would be literally blasting your ears off. But it was not. It was at a regular level. So it appears right now they are working on the audio. They're inside the courtroom. We're waiting on Judge Tony Graff to take over in the hearing. I'm leaving
Is it
the...
working? Can you send them a link to where this is being streamed so they have something to look at? I see. All right. All right, let's go ahead and continue.
Okay, looks like things are starting. Let's,
And let me
let's sit back
repeat it,
in.
just because the audio may have cut out. All counsel are expected to take reasonable measures to safeguard confidential communication. Such measures may include the use of screen protections on electronic devices and care to avoid the inadvertent capture of privileged or private discussions by recording equipment or by those present in the courtroom. Second, the court will address the camera operator and still photographer, and I will invite you to come forward. All right, the purpose of this is to ensure clarity regarding the expectations governing today's proceedings. Could you both state your name for the record?
Yes, Trent Nelson with the Salt Lake Tribune as the pool still photographer.
John Wilson from KSL Television, video photographer.
Good morning to you both. Have you reviewed the court's standing decorum order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Do you understand the requirements set forth in that order as they apply to your activities today?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you require additional time to review the order or to adjust equipment to ensure compliance?
No.
No.
Do you anticipate any difficulty complying with the order or with the court's instructions?
No.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your
Thank you.
cooperation today. As we begin this morning, the court wishes to acknowledge the importance of the safety, dignity, and well-being of all those who are present or who may be present during these proceedings, including the parties, counsel, witnesses, court staff, and members of the public. The court is also mindful of its solemn obligation to protect and uphold the constitutional rights of both Mr. Robinson and Ms. Kirk. In furtherance of those important interests, all persons attending these proceedings are reminded that portable electronic devices are not permitted in the courtroom or on the fourth floor. The court also expects every person in attendance will be treated with the dignity and respect to which they are entitled. Consistent with the court's standing decorum order, all spectators shall remain quiet, civil, and orderly during all times. Spectators shall not engage in conduct that is distracting, disruptive, provocative, disrespectful, uncivil, or threatening in any manner. Spectators shall not make audible comments of any kind, shall not shake or nod their heads, and shall not make gestures or other visible reactions during today's hearing. Spectators shall also not wear or display pins, buttons, signs, clothing, photographs, or other items expressing support for or opposing to any person connected with this case, or expressing any position concerning the status of this case as a capital offense. The court appreciates the cooperation of all present in maintaining a courtroom environment that is safe, respectful, orderly, and faithful to the rights and dignity of every person involved. Turning now to counsel. Before we begin, I wish to acknowledge the professionalism, civility, and competence demonstrated by counsel for both the defense and prosecution during yesterday's proceedings. It is evident to the court that each of you approach this matter with seriousness, preparation, and a deep commitment to your respected responsibilities. The court appreciates the care which you have taken in advocating for your positions and the respectful manner in which you have done so. Thank you. Do either party require the benefit of the record before we proceed?
The state does, Your Honor. Mr. McBride will address the court.
All right, and just as a reminder, the microphones at counsel table are turned off to prevent the inadvertent capture of any communication. So if you would like to come forward, thank you. And turning to Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Your Honor. Before this hearing, the defense moved to find Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah Constitution, Rule 7B, and Rule 1102 unconstitutional as it relates to the admissibility of hearsay and reliable hearsay at this hearing. The issue was extensively briefed and argued. The court denied the defense motion to exclude the use of reliable hearsay at the preliminary hearing. That ruling is at docket number 631. In addition, defense counsel filed a standing objection on July 3rd. That's docket 678. The standing objection reasserted the arguments made in defendant's previous motion. Defendant continues to make these same objections throughout the testimony of each witness. I believe both the state and the court and everyone present knows that the defense objects to the use of hearsay or reliable hearsay at this hearing. On the point of preserving the objection, that has been done. Defense counsel has filed their motion, they filed their standing objection. Throughout the proceeding, they have continued to make objections. At this point, further objection is unnecessary to preserve the record and causes undue and unnecessary delay. This is needless delay, and we'd ask the court to acknowledge and the record to reflect the standing objection. And we also ask the court to give an instruction that continuing objections on this ground are unnecessary. Of course, if it relates to some other ground or is some item that's particular to a particular statement, that objection may be appropriate. But at this point, we feel that the repeated objections that have been made and already been ruled upon are unnecessary and cause undue delay.
Thank you, Mr. McBride. To defense.
Good morning, Your Honor. Michael Burt for Mr. Robinson. We have no objection to that procedure. As long as the court makes a ruling that the objections are preserved, we do think it would expedite matters if we didn't have to repeat the standing objection. There may be particular objections that are not covered by the standing objection we've made, and so we ask permission to be allowed to make those objections as needed.
Thank you, Mr. Burt. Thank you to both sides. I appreciate the presentation and your argument about this. The court takes no position in regards to whether the objection is made again and again or not. I leave that to the parties. I recognize the need to expedite this, and if both sides stipulate, I will adopt the request that the standing objection as it relates to 1102, Article 1, Section 12 of the Utah Constitution, and all relevant authorities that have been cited have been noted, and the standing objection by defense is in place. However, if defense feels the need to do that in order to protect the constitutional rights of Mr. Robinson, the court will not prevent that, nor stand in its way. This court is not is acting in the role of a magistrate and will allow the parties to move forward as necessary. But as noted, I will make that note that the standing objection has been noted for all of the yesterday's proceedings and will be in place throughout the rest of the preliminary hearing. Anything further or any need for the record given the court's statement?
Not from the state.
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right, the court acknowledges that the exclusionary rule is in effect. At this time, any witness who is subject to exclusion should be excused from the courtroom. And again, I will leave it to the parties to monitor the courtroom to ensure that if a witness has come in and they shouldn't be, that they are redirected. I invite Agent Hull to return to the stand to resume direct examination. And Agent Hull, you are still under oath. Mr. Sturgill?
Thank you, Judge.
And before we begin, is there a way to dim these lights just a tad like we did yesterday? Perfect, thank you. All right, as of yesterday, there is also a water bottle to your left. And if you wouldn't mind just making sure that microphone is directly in front of you, we want to make sure that the record picks up your testimony today. Mr. Sturgill, your witness.
Thank you, Judge. Agent Hull, we're going to return to what has been marked State's Exhibit 12.1. There was reference to it yesterday. And I'd like to ask you again, have you reviewed that exhibit?
Yes.
And if you wouldn't mind, just briefly remind us what that exhibit consists of.
The exhibit is a compilation or a piece running of a summary of videos from UVU campus security footage that was obtained.
Okay?
Your Honor, excuse me, we can't hear the witness.
And that's what I hear. So let's go ahead and
Yeah.
stop. I'm not hearing it, so I'm going to have you repeat. Let's test it. Go ahead.
Check.
All right, I believe that. Thank you. Mr. Sturgill, if you wouldn't mind restarting.
I
so
can
the-
do that, Judge.
Thank you.
Maybe bring the mic from the base a little bit closer to you. I don't know if that'll help. All right, let's go ahead and go back to what's been marked as State's Exhibit 12.1. I'd asked you a moment ago if you'd reviewed that exhibit.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And would you just remind us what that exhibit consists of?
It's a compilation of videos that were part of the overall footage that was obtained from the Utah Valley University as part of the investigation.
And does that compilation video, from your point of view, capture Mr. Robinson arriving to and visiting the UVU campus
It does, yes.
on September 10th through the 11th, 2025?
Correct.
Okay. And again, I asked you this question yesterday, but did you prepare that video compilation?
I did not.
Okay. Do you know who did?
The Utah County Attorney's Office.
Does that video, and I'm referring to 12.1 exhibit, State's Exhibit 12.1, does it include all of the footage collected by the SBI from UVU?
It does not, no.
Does that video, again, 12.1, include all of the footage you collected from UVU that captures who you believe is Mr. Robinson walking around campus?
Not all of the footage, no.
You reviewed this compilation with Mr. Olson, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And in its entirety.
Yes.
And he actually, and then you collected an 1102 statement from him.
I did, yes.
And I believe that has actually been admitted into evidence as State's Exhibit 12.3. Did Mr. Olson refer to that exhibit, 12.1, in his statement?
He did, yes.
Okay. 12.3. I'm going to put on your monitor State's Exhibit 12.3, and I'd ask that it be scroll down towards the very bottom. And I would ask that you read from the statement specifically what Mr. Olson said about State's Exhibit 12.1. And I want to narrow your focus, so I'm going to draw your attention about 3/4 down the page. There's a sentence that begins on the left margin, "I have reviewed." Do you see that?
I do, yes.
Okay, would you please read that sentence?
I have reviewed State's Exhibit 12.1, and the recordings are true and accurate, including timestamps, dates, and camera labels. The only changes are some zooms and red highlights, which were not part of the original recording.
Okay.
Would you
Have
like me to-
you, I'm sorry?
Sorry, I didn't know if you wanted me to continue.
No, that's good enough. Have you had a chance, well, you reviewed the raw footage yourself, is that correct?
Correct.
And does that comport with your viewpoint of that exhibit?
It does, yes.
Have you had a chance to review what's been marked as State's Exhibit 12.4?
Yes,
Okay, and when did you review that exhibit?
this morning
And who did you review that exhibit with?
with Kimberly Durfler.
Okay, was there any conversation about that exhibit?
No, I was just shown the video.
Okay. Nobody asked you questions or suggested anything to you?
They did not know.
The, did you prepare that exhibit?
I did not.
Do you know who did?
The Utah County Attorney's Office.
All right. And I'm referring specifically to what's been marked State's Exhibit 12.4. What is depicted in that video?
That video is, again, a compilation of videos from the overall footage that was obtained from Utah Valley University for September 11th and September 12th.
And how does it compare to what's been marked as State's Exhibit 12.1?
It appears to be the same footage. However, on this particular version, there were no circles or blurs that had been made to the video.
How about zooming in and zooming out?
No, there was no zooming or zooming out.
Does it appear to be identical to the raw footage that you've seen that portrays this particular part of the UVU surveillance video?
It does, yes.
Judge, the state would move to admit what's been marked State's Exhibit 12.4.
And
Your Honor, we just object to the publication of this for all the reasons we argued yesterday. We think this video is going to play a big role in the trial, and to allow the public to see it now would seriously impact our ability to get a fair trial, and we're asking the court not to publish it.
thank you. And Mr. Sturgill, and to all counsel, as it will apply to all counsel, when you are moving a piece of evidence, it's the three parts, whether admissibility into the record,
Right.
to be published in the courtroom, and captured by the media. So, Mr. Sturgill, as it's your request, what are you requesting?
Judge, first of all, clearly I'd move to admit the exhibit. I'd ask, and Judge, the presumption is that this is a public record and should be published. And so the state's position is that it should be published here in the courtroom, and it should be published in such a way that the media can capture it on video.
All right.
Your Honor, can I be heard on that very briefly?
You may, if you would approach the lectern, please, and state your name.
I'm David Ryman. I represent the news media. I didn't make an appearance because the news media technically aren't parties, but as you know, they do have the right to be heard on issues like this, and I've tried to keep that to a minimum. But since this is the first one coming up today, I thought it might be helpful to just address it again. There is a presumption not just that it be published in the courtroom, as we talked about yesterday, because the participants or the spectators in the courtroom have a right to know what the court is viewing so that they can understand how you're making your decision. This seems like a very important piece of evidence. It doesn't seem like there is a basis to keep the people who are in the courtroom today from understanding why it's being introduced. It is not like the videos yesterday, my understanding at least is, in fact, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't object to the videos that weren't published yesterday that were graphic. We didn't object to the non-publication of the autopsy report. The argument here that Ms. Nestor just made is this seems really relevant, and that is precisely why it needs to be public. With the last thing I'll address is just EMC. There is a presumption, it's a rule presumption, not a constitutional one, that EMC is allowed. And I think that for all of the reasons that we've briefed this for Your Honor several different ways, there needs to be a really good reason why. You know, if it's being published in a public proceeding in the courtroom, it should not also be it should not also be allowed to be published to the media. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Sturgill, do you wish to respond or perhaps give a little bit more detail on what this video purports to show?
Well, do you want me to proffer that, Judge, or have the witness?
I'll defer to you.
Okay. Well, first of all, if I could take one step back. Let me ask you, I may have misheard, but let's just be clear about this video, the compilation video. It includes video surveillance from UVU campus from what dates?
September 10th, 2025 into the morning of the 11th, 2025.
And if you wouldn't mind just describing in a bit more detail what this compilation includes.
The compilation shows the movements of the individual believed to be Mr. Robinson on Utah Valley University campus, arriving and leaving in a vehicle, arriving and leaving on foot, and then returning and leaving, and then attempting to gain access again in a vehicle. And his movements throughout the day are included in the videos also.
Is there any footage of the alleged shooting?
There is not, Judge.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Ms. Nestor, given that additional information and anything further from defense?
Your Honor, Mr. Burt's he's the one who's been litigating all of the First Amendment issues, if he could address Mr. Ryman's argument.
Yes, Mr. Burt, if you wouldn't mind coming forward.
Judge, I wanted to clarify one argument that was made by counsel for the media yesterday, and that was the rules, the Rule 4-202.02 does not apply to the situation we're in right now, and that is wrong. The rule says that this rule applies to the judicial branch, and 4-202.02J says the judge may regulate or deny access to exhibits to ensure a fair trial. So I think that rule does apply to our situation, and the Supreme Court in the Algier, ALLGIER case, 258 Pacific 3rd, 589, applied the rule in the context of an evidentiary exhibit. And I know the court has not mentioned, since counsel made that argument, this particular rule, but I think it does apply here. And also applicable is the Supreme Court's decision in the Kearns case, which we talked about when we argued the motion for denying access to the cameras. And that case, Kearns versus Tribune Corporation, 685 Pacific 2nd, 515, says that the standard the court ought to apply in determining whether an exhibit at a preliminary hearing should be sealed is one of a, quote, realistic likelihood of prejudice. And we rely on the evidentiary showing we've made in connection with our motion to exclude cameras, that there is a realistic likelihood of prejudice in this way. The court knows and has access to the media coverage up to the time when we litigated the motion concerning closing this hearing to the cameras. And the court knows that one feature of the media coverage has been a very pro-prosecution bias of every story that has been published on this account. The court also knows from that coverage that information is being widely disseminated, and you have found in connection with the shackling issue that the publicity in this case is likely to reach jurors who will be part of our jury pool. And we've also submitted to the court a public opinion survey which shows that the prejudicial publicity that the media has already generated in this case has affected the jury pool. And so those are all factors the court can point to and rely on and conclude that publication of this particular exhibit should not be allowed because there is a realistic likelihood of prejudice to Mr. Robinson's right to a fair trial. So under that standard and under the rule, the court ought to deny publication.
Thank you, Mr. Burt.
Thank you.
Any final argument from the parties before the court issues its ruling?
Your Honor, can I be heard on that briefly?
Yes, you may.
Thank you, Your Honor. David Ryman. I just wanted to clarify. I don't know that Mr. Burt and I necessarily disagree about what he said about the rule. What we were talking about yesterday was something different. That is the portion of the rule that classifies records that are in the court file. You know, it's not the same as what happens in a public hearing. And Mr. Burt referenced the portion of the rule that essentially just tracks the constitutional standard, which of course, you know, controls here as to whether in this public proceeding it can be closed in any way, and non-publication of exhibits as a form of closure. So I don't necessarily disagree. I would just underscore a lot of what Mr. Burt just said has been briefed ad nauseum at this point. Their position that publicity is incompatible with a fair trial. The Algier case he mentioned, you know, I know that case. I litigated that case. It involved a confession that the court found public because you have so many other tools to seat a fair and impartial jury. And we have cited that case repeatedly, and so has Your Honor, I think, recognized it in your ruling, saying pretrial publicity can coexist with the defendant's right to a fair trial. So the last thing I'll say is just that the constitutional standard that I think we're all agreeing applies here is weighty and difficult to overcome. And it is never satisfied, as we've explained, by just generalized assertions that there's a lot of publicity out there. It's got to be something really specific, and they just haven't made that showing. And I certainly don't think that a video that apparently just shows the defendant walking around the UVU campus qualifies.
Thank you. Anything further?
Judge, from the state, no, but I think I'd like to be crystal clear. You asked if there's any portion of this video that captures, and I believe you asked of the actual shooting. There's no video of that. There is video, however, and you've heard testimony related to this, where the shooter goes to the top of the low-C building, goes out to the edge of the building, low crawls, and then leaves after what we assume is the shot being fired. That's as close as it gets. I don't know if that makes a difference, Judge. I just wanted to make the record clear, and I want to be crystal clear with Your Honor.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification as it is guiding for this court and making its ruling. I turn to Utah. Well, let me pull this up. So Rule 4-202.02. I go down to, well, first it says statement of the rule. 1, presumption of public court records. Court records are public unless otherwise classified by this rule. 2, public court records. Public court records include but are not limited to. And I'm going to go down to 2J, exhibits. But the judge may regulate or deny access to ensure the integrity of the exhibit, a fair trial, or interests favoring closure. And the court recognizes the importance of the constitutional rights of Mr. Robinson being upheld and protected. At the same time, the court also recognizes the importance of transparency and a proper balance to ensure that the constitutional rights of all parties are upheld. As it relates to this exhibit, I believe it's 12.4.
12.4, yes.
Based off the representation of what is in that, the court differentiates this exhibit from the exhibits from yesterday, namely Exhibit 7, Exhibit 8, and Exhibit 9, as those are different in nature, and those go to issues relating to Utah Constitution, Article 1, Section 28, as it relates to the Declaration of the Rights of Crime Victims. And the court also recognizes Utah Rule of Evidence 1102, as that is the foundation that's being laid for the admission of this exhibit. Having taken in consideration all factors, the court rules that Exhibit 12.4 is admitted into evidence and shall be played in the courtroom and may be broadcast by the media. We can proceed.
Thank you, Judge. Agent Hall, before we actually watch State's Exhibit 12.4, I have just a few questions. Yesterday, you testified at the very beginning of your investigation that you focused on the video that captured the shooter on the top of the low-C building. Is that correct?
Yes.
I believe you also testified that you began by working your way, and this is what I remember you saying, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you in essence testified that you began with that video and you started working your way backward and forward with the UVU surveillance video in an effort to trace the shooter's steps on campus. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Would you mind explaining just in a little bit more detail what you meant by that, tracking forward and backward on that video?
Yeah, we had a known when the shooting occurred, and as the officer testified, there was a video of an individual on the roof at the time of the shooting. And so the philosophy that we applied was to take what we knew and then work that forward through the timeline and backwards through the timeline to try and establish where the individual had gone from the rooftop or how the individual had come to be on the rooftop.
And did that, for lack of a better term, did that bear fruit?
It did,
Did you
yes.
actually see from, at least in part, where he came from and where that shooter went?
Yes, more so where he came from. It was very limited after the fact.
Alrighty, you are continuing to listen in there to the case be debated here. I want to kind of interrupt here to break down what you might have just seen. It might have been confusing if you weren't in a big legal mind, but essentially there was an argument, or rather a surveillance video from UVU, the Utah Valley University, where this alleged shooting did occur. There was debate where the essentially the defense was saying that this should not be released to the public, saying that the jury pool before it selected could have seen it and it could bring in bias to this case, essentially saying that when they go to interview jurors, these jurors could have already seen some of this video and that could bring bias into this case. Then you even had the media lawyers, because the media has had to have lawyers brought in on this case to argue for the First Amendment rights here, to argue that their media should be allowed inside this courtroom. So there was an argument about it. The media said this should be shown. It's not going to that it was not going to change things. And the judge, Tony Graffi, asked, does this show the alleged shooting? There was a clarification later. At first it was a no. There was some clarification later that shows basically the moments leading up to it, but not exactly the shooting. And then now we are learning that the judge here has ruled that this will be allowed into the courtroom. So that's essentially what has happened. It was an argument over whether evidence should be released to the public. Now why this is so different than how a trial would work. A trial where we would have seen all of the evidence. All of the evidence is going to be brought to the public unless it is just so disturbing that it can't be brought towards the public. And it looks like that video might be being shown now. So let's actually go back there and begin watching.
No, I appreciate it. Is so it is admitted and may be published to the screens. And just want to make sure it's on your screen, Agent. All right. All right, Mr. Sturgill, you may proceed.
Appreciate that, Judge. Thank you. Go ahead. Okay, what are we seeing here, Agent Hall?
That's the vehicle that is believed to belong to Mr. Robinson arriving in the parking garage on campus.
At what time in the morning? What time of the day?
It's approximately 8:30 in the morning on September 10th, 2025.
And what leads you to believe that this particular vehicle belongs to Mr. Robinson?
Information that was provided regards to driver's license and Department of Motor Vehicle records. The vehicle fits the description of a vehicle owned by Mr. Robinson.
Is there anything unique about that vehicle that stands out to you?
The shape of the vehicle is very distinct, but predominantly the wheels were very distinctive on this version of the vehicle.
Now what do we see?
The driver of the vehicle exits the vehicle and then walks on foot to exit the parking garage. It's the individual in the red T-shirt and the shorts and the shoes.
And do you believe you recognize who that person is?
Yes.
Who is that?
I believe that's Tyler Robinson.
All right, and where does he go from there?
He heads out of the parking garage on foot into the campus and actually goes to the quad area of the campus. At that time, he makes contact with some representatives from TPUSA.
By quad area?
Sorry, the amphitheater is what I've previously referred it to.
All right. So he goes up on campus, visits the amphitheater area, the courtyard or quad.
Correct.
And then what do we see here now?
He returns on foot back to the same vehicle.
And what time is he returning back to the vehicle?
It's about 9:25 a.m.
And where is this parking structure located on campus?
It's just off of Campus Drive. It's a short walk from the amphitheater.
What do we see now?
That's the vehicle exiting with Mr. Robinson driving the vehicle.
Now what do we see?
This is Mr. Robinson returning to the campus on foot from the neighborhood to the northeast. You can see he's wearing the same clothing as in the previous video. and he's carrying a blue backpack.
Describe the clothing.
It's a maroon colored t-shirt with gray or olive colored shorts and then Converse shoes.
And what time did he return to campus?
Just after 10 a.m.
And does he leave the parking structure eventually?
He does, yes.
Okay. And during this visit, do you know where he goes after he leaves the parking structure?
Yes, we were able to track his movements on campus. He went to Chick-fil-A in the Sorensen building and purchased some food, sat and ate the food. Then, I'm sorry,
Where did he purchase the food from?
Chick-fil-A in the Sorensen Center.
And where is that in relation to the amphitheater or the courtyard?
It's kind of on the northeast side of the amphitheater. It would be on the upper back edge of the amphitheater, furthest away from where the tent was that Mr. Kirk was in.
And from there, where does he go?
From there, he moves across campus, out across Campus Drive into a wooded area on what would be kind of the northeast side of Campus Drive. Then returns back onto campus. We noticed at this point that he's no longer carrying the backpack that he was originally wearing. He moves through the Gunther building and the computer science building. And
goes
then,
where?
I'm sorry?
And then goes where?
Then goes across to the railing that gives access to the roof of the Losi building.
From there?
From there, he comes back down the stairs and walks off campus from that point.
And about what time was that he left campus that second time? Do you know?
I believe it was approximately 11 a.m. or just after, if I recall. I could verify from my notes if you need an exact time.
Yeah, if you don't mind. That'll help you remember, refer to it. Don't read it out loud. Just let me know when you've had a chance to look at that, would you? Were you able to refresh your memory as far as the time?
I was, yes.
Okay, and what time was it?
It was just prior to 11 a.m. when he walked off campus.
Okay. And before we go any further, the parking structure that he left initially, where is that parking structure in relation to the LDS Institute building?
I'm sorry, in relation to?
The LDS Institute building on campus?
I think it would be just to the north of the LDS Institute building, if I recall.
Do you recall whether it was adjacent to the LDS Institute?
Yes, it is.
Okay. All right. What do we see displayed here now? Go ahead.
This is a video of Mr. Robinson returning back to campus the same way that he did previously on foot.
And this takes just a moment. And why, well, let me ask you this. You believe this is Mr. Robinson returning to campus?
I do, yes.
Okay. And why do you believe it's Mr. Robinson?
The shoes are the same, and the images that we have from my viewing and seeing Mr. Robinson on the video, it's the same person.
He's noticeably wearing different clothing.
He is wearing different clothing, and he also is walking with a gait or a limp in this video.
With a gait or what?
A limp.
Okay. Now what do we see?
So this is Mr. Robinson coming up the stairs of the parking structure. Again, he seems to be having issues walking.
And again, were you able to track Mr. Robinson when he leaves this parking structure?
Yes, we were able to.
Okay. So when he leaves the parking structure, where does he go?
He comes up around Campus Drive. As you can see on the video here, there is a cut through there north of the Losi building, and that's Mr. Robinson coming up the sidewalk. He has the noticeable gait or limp in his walk. And then he moves south across the front of the Losi building.
On the sidewalk?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
He would be the rear of the two individuals in this particular video.
So right now, if you were to break this picture into quadrants, where would he be?
He'd be in the top left quadrant, walking to the left of the image.
Now what do we see?
This is an image looking across the parking lot to the Losi building, and Mr. Robinson is appearing on the exterior staircase, which gives access to the Losi building roof and the area where the railing was.
And again, let's break that image into quadrants. Where would he be located if you broke it into quadrants?
It's in the top right, and the individual can be seen moving under the notations that are on the video.
Okay. And what time is this?
It's just afternoon, about 12:15
On what day?
on September 10th, 2025.
Okay. What just happened, or what did we just see happen?
The individual actually kind of rolls over the railing onto the roof of the Losi building.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
And again, in the top left corner, the individual is now seen running across the rooftop of the Losi building to what would be the southwest corner of the building, crouching down and then crawling to the corner of the building.
And this is at what time?
Around 12:23. I think the timestamp on the video is 12:22.
On the 10th.
On September 10th, yes,
So
2025.
we're clear, this is the roof of the Losi building.
Correct.
Can you still see that individual?
Yes, you can, laying prone.
You believe this to be Mr. Robinson?
I'm sorry?
You believe this to be Mr. Robinson?
I do, yes.
And how long is he out there on the edge of the building?
Just until the reported shot was fired at 12:23 and 28. The individual then stands up and then moves across the building to the north.
Is that what we're seeing happening right now?
It is, yes. They move behind the atrium area on the rooftop to the northeast corner where the white triangle is.
Do you see Mr. Robinson now?
I do, yes. He's just arriving at the corner of the building, almost the top center of the image.
What are we seeing now?
And Mr. Robinson lowering and jumping off of the roof of the Losi building onto the grass area, and then moving away towards Campus Drive. And he appears to be carrying some kind of an object in his hand at this time.
So he's approaching,
Campus Drive.
and again, broken into quadrants. Where is he currently?
Be in the top right quadrant.
And the time?
It's 12:24 and 42 on the timestamp.
What do we see now?
He then crosses Campus Drive and drops down into the wooded area on the far side of Campus Drive.
And that is located in what part of the video? What quadrant?
It would have been just off center on the top left side.
What do we see now?
This is the intersection of Campus Drive and 800 South. There's a vehicle attempting to turn right onto Campus Drive. That's the vehicle that's driven by Mr. Robinson.
Okay. And on the screen, where is that vehicle that you're referring to located, if you broke it into quadrants?
It's on the left side, on the upper side, the upper quadrant.
Now what do we see?
That vehicle's now pulling away and heading east on 800 South.
And why do you believe that that vehicle is Mr. Robinson's vehicle?
When that vehicle was stopped, it actually made contact with an officer who was doing security detail,
Okay, and do you know who that officer is? or
Officer
was?
Goforth.
Okay, and do you know which department he works for?
Spanish Fork, please.
And did you have a conversation with Mr. Goforth regarding this interaction at that intersection?
I did, yes.
Okay, and what time was that interaction? I'm sorry, did I ask you that?
It was approximately 12:30 a.m.
On the 11th?
on September 11th, 2025.
So you talked to Officer Goforth about that contact on the corner on that, or during, I guess during the early morning hours of the 11th?
Correct.
And what did Officer Goforth tell you about that interaction?
It was an interaction that, I guess cop intuition, but there was something about the interaction that made him make a note of the license plate of the vehicle. And then subsequently, when information was available that that vehicle, or a vehicle matching the description of that, was involved in the incident, he ran the information that he had obtained from the stop and was able to identify that it was registered to Mr. Robinson, and he had in fact had contact with Mr. Robinson on the morning of September 11th, 2025.
The information that he ran, do you know what information when you say that, he ran information?
Yes, he ran a partial plate.
Okay. A license plate?
Correct.
And based on that partial license plate, he was able to identify the owner of that vehicle?
Yes.
And did he tell you who the owner of that vehicle was?
He did, yes.
Okay, and who did he tell you that it belonged to?
Said there were two registered owners of the vehicle, Tyler Robinson and an Amber Robinson.
Did he say anything about the person that he actually interacted with?
Yes, it was a male that he believed to be Tyler Robinson.
Okay. Let's return again to what's been marked State's Exhibit 12.1. Again, you've reviewed that video.
Yes.
And the difference between 12.1, or what's been marked as State's Exhibit 12.1, and 12.4 are, if I understand you correctly, are these enhancements that we've been talking about.
Yes.
And specifically, be specific about the enhancements, and let's go one at a time.
Okay.
I think there's a reference to either red circles or red highlights. I think
Correct.
That's how Mr. Olson described it, red highlights.
Yes.
Do you know what he's, or what is he referencing by the red highlights, or what do you believe he's referencing?
I believe he's referring to red ovals or circles that were placed over the image to identify specific individuals of note.
And these red circles, are they permanent red circles? Are they temporary?
I'm
Different.
I would assume they are temporary. I'm not very technological, but I believe they would be overlaid over the image.
And this is a bad question. What I mean by that is do they appear and disappear quickly, or do they linger or last for a period of time?
They're there for a notable period, but I believe they come off the video. But
All right. And other than, well, and you said that the circles, what do the circles do?
they identify an area or a person of interest within the video.
And other than do that, do the circles or the highlights, do they do anything with regards to the video itself, as far as its accuracy?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. I think the next enhancement that has been mentioned that we've talked about is there's some blurring.
Yes.
Do you know what that? Tell us what that is. What blurring do you see in what's been marked as State's Exhibit 12.1 that you now don't see in 12.4?
If I recall, there were some individuals in the parking garage footage, and their faces were blurred. Excuse me.
Is anything other than faces being blurred?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. And how often do you see the blurring throughout the video?
I believe it's just in the original sequence in the parking garage.
The other than the blurring, does the blurring, other than obviously blur out part of the image, does it change or impact the accuracy in your mind of that part of the compilation video?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And then the last thing is, I believe, is there's some zooming in and zooming out that's in 12.1 that has been removed
Yes.
from 12.4. What can you tell us about the zooming in and the zooming out?
Predominantly, it's in the area that was referred to as viewing the Losi building rooftop. I believe it focuses on the area where Mr. Robinson comes up the stairs and onto the rooftop. Those portions of that particular footage were zoomed in for clarity.
Other than zooming in and zooming out, does at least that enhancement to the video, does it change the content of the video,
No,
the accuracy in of the video in your mind?
no.
Okay. Are the enhancements in State's Exhibit, well, it's been marked as State's Exhibit 12.1, are they helpful in any way, or what do they add or take away from that video?
I think for people who are not familiar with the area and what's trying to be shown, they allow an opportunity for people to look at an individual who we believe to be Tyler Robinson, and also specific movements with more clarity than the original focal point gives.
So let's talk about the zooming in and the zooming out. It sounds like it's specific to the Losi rooftop, if I understand you correctly.
Yes.
Okay. And I think we've all watched that exhibit.
Correct.
12.4. And although you can see Mr. Robinson and his movements, is it fair to say that it's difficult to really see what's going on?
That would be fair, yes.
Okay. And the version that's in 12.1, does it facilitate at least that part of the video, seeing Mr. Robinson and tracking, I guess, his steps?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Judge, at this point, I think in combination with yesterday, the foundation that was laid yesterday, including the written statement from Mr. Olson, which has been admitted into evidence and is, well, it's already been admitted to evidence. We believe there's enough foundation that at this point we'd also ask the court to admit what's been marked State's Exhibit 12.1. We think it would be well, beneficial for Your Honor to view it.
Ms. Nestor.
Thank you, Your Honor. We renew our authenticity objection, and we also object to for admission purposes. And then we also object to the publication for the same reasons, the fair trial issues that we raised with the unaltered version that was just submitted.
And Judge, sorry, I neglected to mention the other two. Again, Judge, we believe that the presumption is that this is a public record, that it should be not only admitted, but it should be published here in the courtroom, and it should be published in such a way that the media can have access to it.
All right. I do have a question in just directing your attention to the Utah Rule of Evidence 403, to the last phrase, the last 4 words in that. Do you wish to address that?
Judge, I'm going to have to look at 403 specifically for those last 4
Well,
words,
I
unless you want to share that
I
with
can
me.
read that. Or
Okay, go ahead and
needlessly
read that.
presenting cumulative evidence. So the court may, let me just read the whole rule for completeness. The court may exclude relevant evidence if its probative value is substantially outweighed by a danger of one or more of the following: unfair prejudice, confusing the issue, misleading the jury, undue delay, wasting time, or needlessly presenting cumulative evidence. I'm not looking at anything else other than that last portion. I recognize there is no jury. I am the magistrate. I am the fact finder, but just addressing that last point of Rule 403.
Right. Judge, well, I don't believe that the evidence is cumulative. I think that each of the 2 videos, although they portray basically the same footage, there's characteristics of the one that has been enhanced that I think makes it easier.
Alrighty, so a second, excuse me, a second argument about a video here that you're watching and whether evidence should be released into this case. We're going to kind of break down what we have just learned, that first video that was just shown. And I apologize because I know on the first day that there wasn't all of this new information revealed, but now we're getting into kind of the nitty gritty. We're getting into a lot of this stuff being revealed. So Robinson, first of all, we're seeing this video of him inside this parking garage on the UVU campus. Inside that footage, the David Hool, who is testifying here, who was brought in as from the Utah Department of Public Safety as an investigator after the shooting, says that this car enters. It appears to be a Dodge Challenger. It appears to be Tyler Robinson. We've now learned that he goes on the campus, then he comes back to the garage, leaves, and goes to Chick-fil-A for lunch. This is on the day of the shooting. He's seen multiple times entering, exiting this parking garage. And the new video shows the Robinson, what appears to be Robinson, what is believed to be Robinson by at least the prosecution, and David Hool, who is testifying here, climbing the roof of the Losi building. Now, that instantly got me. How did Robinson know how to do this? Of course, that's the question. He was a student at the University of Utah Valley University for a semester back in 2021, so 4 years before the shooting. Now, what is also notable is an officer, quote, had cop intuition and wrote down a partial license plate number because when he left the Losi building, he got off of the Losi building, off the roof. An officer made contact with what is believed to be Robinson, wrote down a partial plate number, did a search, found that this vehicle was linked to Tyler Robinson, and the officer said that is who he believed to have seen. And now we're in yet another key evidence moment here, a debate about whether specific evidence should be released. Let's take you back live into the courtroom and continue listening in.
State's Exhibit 12.1 has been admitted.
It is received into evidence, yes.
And your intent is to review it in its entirety, but not here in the courtroom.
Yes.
Can I make one suggestion, Judge, or maybe one request? I believe the most important part of the most helpful part of this video is the zooming in and the zooming out. And that is a portion that, if you want, we could isolate that and only play that portion of the video if you'd be willing to publish that portion of the video. And that's really the thrust of why we are trying to introduce that exhibit, because we believe that it's helpful to see it up close. And unfortunately, because of the way it's formatted and the way it's been recorded, there's no way any of us can zoom in and zoom out on this video to get a better look at what's going on. And that's the reason why we did what we did, but we had to memorialize it and save it. And then present it in that way rather than just present it in its raw form and then have the ability to zoom in and out, if that helps Your Honor understand why we're doing what we're doing.
All right, Ms. Nestor, to the second request of not playing the whole video in its entirety, but simply the portion with the zooming in, how long is that, Mr. Sturgill?
I think it's a couple of minutes.
All right, Ms. Nestor.
We object to the prejudice of that, Your Honor, and ask the court to stand by your previous ruling on that.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate both parties. What I will do is review this video in court, and it will be displayed to the monitor's counsel table and to the court's monitor on any portion that you wish to play for me to look at, so all parties can see clearly that the court is reviewing it in court. But I do not find that it is necessary for its publication because this is the exact same video. I recognize it's zooming, but in balancing the constitutional rights, there is nothing on this video from what's been represented that the public hasn't already seen. It's simply zooming in, and I don't find that that is necessary or and so in balancing the constitutional rights of all parties, I'll view it on the monitor. Counsel's free to view it with me as I'm looking at it, but it will not be broadcast in the courtroom or by the video camera.
I appreciate that, Judge. I respect that. I think there's a natural break where we can start. And what I'm going to ask is just we simply play the You will have this entire exhibit in evidence, though.
Thank you.
Is that right?
Yes, I will. All right, whenever you're ready. Council, as it relates to your monitors, just as a caution, if you don't want it to be wished to be picked up, and I'm not saying it will, I know our camera operators being diligent in ensuring they're complying by the rules, but in abundance of caution, this is just your moment to take care of your screens if you feel the need to do so.
Sure, if I could just have one moment. Hold on, Kimberly. Not sure where the power button is on this. There we go.
All right, counsel for defense, are we prepared? And for the state?
Yes, Judge.
All right, thank you. Having heard from both counsel, I'll go ahead and review it on my screens. It is not being displayed in the monitor in the courtroom. And you may present 12.1, the portion you wish for me to view.
Alrighty, again, and we're kind of in a waiting moment here for evidence. The judge ruling that it can be shown in court, it can be shown to the, of course, the people inside the courtroom, but it cannot be publicized. So meaning that the cameras cannot see it, meaning we cannot see it here as we continue to watch this video. Again, David Hull, the Utah Department of Public Safety investigator, is continuing his testimony. Now, what it is, this video is, according to the court here, is the same video that we just watched. It is edited. It points out specific things, and we also know that it blurs faces of people inside the parking garage that are not connected directly to, that are not Taylor Robinson, not connected directly to this case here. Let's continue listening again as the Utah Department of Public Safety investigator David Hull continues his testimony here in Provo, Utah. And I do want to also note here, a morning break should be coming soon as well. We do know that at about 12 Central is when they like to have, I should say 1 Central is when they like to have their lunch breaks. So we could see a morning break come at any moment, and then they'll have a lunch break, and I believe they also have an afternoon break. So let's just continue listening in. I just wanted to note that that could be coming at any point in time. When that comes, we stay on the air. We're just going to kind of wrap up what may have been seen this morning, and we have a lot to talk about, that's for sure.
So what came on the video was just before 6-minute mark, Judge.
All right.
And just so the record's clear, this is State's Exhibit 12.1.
Thank you. I have it on my screen. It's so it looks like it's been paused at 6 minutes and 9 seconds.
Agent Hull, can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, well, let's just, I'm good with playing it. And we'll play it. Go ahead, Kimberly.
It's playing.
Right, and it's been paused, it looks like, at 6 minutes and 23 seconds.
I'm sorry. Judge, at 8:23, we stopped the video.
Oh, at 8:23, okay.
8:23. That's the count on the video itself.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sturgill.
Agent Hull, you were able to watch that zoomed-in version, is that
Yes, sir.
right? Okay, and was there anything that stood out watching that zoomed version?
For me, on the zoomed version, it's apparent that Mr. Robinson, the individual jumping off the roof, is carrying an item.
Okay. And you can see clear the clothing that he's wearing? Strike that.
Mr. Sturgill, do you want to respond to the objection?
Judge, it is leading.
I'll go ahead and sustain the objection, and that you may move forward.
Is it easier to see? Well, strike that, Judge. I'll let the video speak for itself. Judge, I have nothing further with Agent Hull.
All right. Ms. Nestor.
Just one moment, Your Honor, if
Of
I may have
course.
the court's indulgence. Thank you. Do you want to take your?
And I was just going to suggest that. It seems like right now is a good time to take our morning break. It is 10:15. Let's come back at 10:30, and we'll resume with cross-examination of Agent Hull. Court is now in recess.
Already, court is now in recess. We told you at any moment we were expecting for them to take a morning break, and that is exactly what we are seeing here. So again, big day there in court today. Lots going on. I'll just tell you that. They're inside that courtroom. We're following it all. I will let you know that this camera could switch at any moment to outside the courthouse, which means we could see some of the Kirk family. Of course, we know that Erica Kirk is in appearance here. The judge noted that at the beginning. We know that yesterday, Judge Tony Graff also noted that Erica Kirk, she could enter and exit this courtroom at any moment, that she was allowed to do that. She was kind of like, to put it in, made an exception, you could say, that if there was kind of an explicit moment that was going to be shared, she could enter and then she could exit rather, and then enter still in the middle of the hearing ongoing. Of course, that is not usual for like spectators. Like for myself, if I was inside that courtroom and I exited, I would not be allowed re-entry until like a moment like this where there is a recess. So David Hull, he is just ended his testimony for this is going to be for the prosecution here. We expect that a defense is going to, of course, examine him as well, ask some questions. So lots going on there that we are watching right now. Want to note that we also have another breaking story that we are watching right now. We want to take you right there to what we are awaiting for. It looks like maybe a sound check. They might be doing a press conference right now. This is live in New York City, where a Midtown building has been evacuated in a fear of that it could collapse. So we are learning that the FDNY, which is the New York Fire Department, Fire Department of New York, I should say, is expected to provide an update here in any moment on this. There are reports of falling bricks inside this building. We are monitoring it and are waiting for a press conference to come. So as soon as one does, you see it there on your screen. We are watching for it and we'll bring it to you live if it is during our break here that we have of this court hearing. So of course, just wanted to note that. Of course, we're going to try to keep our focus on this court hearing for this is what of course the point of this special report is for. But if they do have a press conference during our break, it's breaking, we'll take you there live coming up here in just a few moments. So again, this is a Midtown building and the fear of collapsing. I'll kind of get you guys an update here. We know that this building was evacuated. I'll kind of give you, trying to find something here. This is several floors of a Midtown Manhattan office building that's under construction are caving in on Tuesday. So that is again after an inspection from the FDNY. Around 8 a.m., construction workers noted cracks inside the building. The FDNY say the workers spotted structural support beams beginning to buckle on the 21st and 22nd floor. Actually, let's go ahead and show you an image here that we have. This is give me 1 second here. This is an image from KABC that was posted onto their website that I kind of want to show you guys, showing some of these buckled what appears to be like structural beams. Take a look there. So we are watching for that. Again, this is right now in New York City. So we are monitoring this story again, and we'll bring you updates when we get them. So again, there you go. This press conference expected to come at any moment. As soon as it does, we will take you there live. Give me one moment, you guys. Sorry guys, we're working on several different things here, and I'm trying to get you guys up to date on all of this. So again, we're continuing to follow this New York City building evacuated. We're of course going to stand by for court to resume as well. As soon as it does, we will take you there live. I'm hoping that they might have this press conference while we are standing by with you guys, so we will take you. So we are able to bring you up to date on this. FDNY expected to provide this update. I want to note that if they do not have the press conference here, we have until 11:30 when the court is expected to come back. If they do not have it, we will have it for you coming up today on a special edition of Brooklyn News Live that will air at 1 p.m. Central Time. So again, we're following several developing stories right now. Of course, the main reason we're here for the Charlie Kirk hearing, but then we have this separate breaking story that we are continuing to monitor and will continue to keep our eyes on. I do want to, we're going to keep our eyes on this press conference. If it begins, we're going to take you there live, so stick with us for just a moment. But again, right now, we are in our morning break for the preliminary hearing, a set of 5 preliminary hearings that are going to go throughout Friday. That has just had a morning break again. The big story that we've learned, we've already kind of highlighted some of this because, again, there are moments in court where we're able to kind of break in, bring a little bit of analysis, tell you guys, here's what's happening inside the courtroom, especially when it comes to the objections and litigation that we see from both the defense and the prosecution in this case. We're kind of able to break in, say, this is what's happening, this is what they're arguing. Specifically, we did that, and we kind of brought you what was going on at one moment in the court hearing when there was an argument. There was actually been 2 moments now. There's been an argument over whether to show video, but specifically there was a moment earlier on whether to show video that was showing, that we ended up seeing, but it was showing the moments that Robinson entered and exited this parking garage several times, and we learned that in the middle of all of this, he would visit the amphitheater, then he would leave, of course, the amphitheater where Charlie Kirk was expected to speak and began speaking before shots rang out, and ultimately he was assassinated. But we learned that he would exit and then visit Chick-fil-A for lunch and then come back to the campus, and that's what a video that David Hull, who is one of the investigators that investigated this all, he would testify that that what appeared to be Robinson, at least that's what he said, it appeared to be Robinson, would climb on top of the Losi building and appear to get into kind of like a firing position, and that is when, of course, the shots fired would begin, and what is believed to be the moment that Charlie Kirk was killed. So again, we also know that as Robinson was exiting, an officer had contact with Robinson, and what is described by David Hull as officer intuition, cop intuition, I should say, that's a direct quote there, is what is the reason behind why this officer would gather at least a partial plate, and then would ultimately, when this investigation turned out to be, well, it is looking for this person, that Tyler Robinson, it is looking for him, that they were able to kind of track him down and find him by using this partial plate that was gathered by this officer. So it played a critical role into this investigation. So again, that is what we're learning right now. There was also some arguments between the defense and the prosecution, again, about a second pair of video. The video was the same video from the campus that was shown, but this time it was altered, it was edited, it was shown directly to have zoom ins and kind of like blurs and red circles highlighting Tyler Robinson, what is believed to be Tyler Robinson here. So that is what is happening there. We're continuing to follow all of this, and we are going to take you back into the courtroom when it begins, coming up here in just a few moments. So stick with us for that. This is the look that we have right now of the courtroom. Things not quite underway just yet. About 9 minutes until they do get back underway. Want to take you back to this other shot that we're watching right now. This is again another yet big story that we are following this hour. We're not quite on the air for it, but we are following it. An NYC Midtown building evacuated after safety concerns that it could collapse. So you see kind of the surrounding edge around it, just in case something starts falling from it. So we're following that, and we will bring you updates if a press conference comes while we are on the air. So here's what we're gonna do, because I can't talk forever without my throat starting to hurt. We are going to take you back out live to kind of all the shots we're watching right now, and we will sneak in kind of a break here as we stand by for this hearing to get back underway. So I'm going to actually, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to try, I wish I could have every single shot on your screen, but I don't think there's a way I can with how I have things set up here. So let me think here. Sorry guys, I'm thinking here what I can do. I'm going to leave you on this screen. We have the monitoring there in the bottom here. So we're monitoring it. I will turn on the special report music, and we will continue listening in here and await for the court hearing to get back underway. If the press conference starts while we're monitoring all of this, we will take you there. So stand by with us. We will be back here in just a few moments. Alrighty, welcome back here into this Brooklyn News Special Report. We're going to kind of keep talking over here. We got about 4 minutes until we expect day 2 of the preliminary hearings in the Charlie Kirk case to pick back up. We'll take you there in just a few moments. The big story here, not exactly that. It is what is ongoing right now in New York. Emergency crews in New York are responding to what could be a collapse of a building here soon. At least that's what officials are warning right now. You see the live looks right now. We are live there. A press conference could begin here at any moment. We will take you there live here coming up at any moment. Again, 11:30 Central Time when this court hearing is expected to get back underway. So that means 12:30 Eastern, 10:30 in Mountain Time, which is of course where this is all happening at. So we're following it. We're going to take you there live just to bring you back up to date here. If you're just joining us here on Brooklyn News Live, we've got several breaking stories that we are following right now. So of course we are going to be on the air every day this week for these hearings. These preliminary hearings, all this week will be on the air for it. When the trial begins, we're going to do our best to be on the air for that. So right now, in the middle of that, we learned of another breaking story that there was an evacuation at a building that officials were warning it could collapse and that it was unsafe to be in, essentially. And now we are watching this all live. And so while we're on the air here, we thought we might as well, bring you up to date on this separate story that we're following. So we've got that building collapse story. We've got the Kirk trial. This is going to be preliminary hearings that could be setting up a trial. Essentially what's happening here with Charlie Kirk and Tyler Robinson in court, which is the suspected killer of Charlie Kirk, is going to be we are awaiting for the judge after Friday is going to rule if the prosecution has enough evidence to bring this case to trial here. So that's what we're watching right now. We've already kind of wrapped up what we saw before the morning break. So if you want to rewind just a little bit, just a little before that break, we were talking about what exactly happened this morning before the morning break. We are now 1 minute away before we are expected to see this hearing, this set of 5 preliminary hearings begin once again in court. But again, we are also continuing to monitor those 2 cameras there on your screen. When a press conference begins, we're going to monitor it, okay? So essentially, 2 big stories we're following right now. If this press conference begins while we have a second, we'll try our best to listen, and we want to try to get both stories. But again, we want to remind you, we're here mainly for the Kirk hearings, so we're watching it. If what it looks like this press conference may not begin while we're here. If it does not begin while we're here, we are going to have a recap of this story coming up on Brooklyn News Live. That is going to come up today at 1 p.m. So you can join us then at 1 p.m. for Brooklyn News Live, and we will have that. Just to bring you up to date, I'm Jackson Mitchell. We're still here with all of these stories. This is a Brooklyn News Festival report. We're watching it all. We are following several developing stories. We expect here coming up in just a few moments, day 2, the preliminary hearings in the Charlie Kirk case, expected to pick back up. As soon as they do, we are live there. The time now has just hit 10:30 when it was expected to begin. So we are standing by for this camera audio to turn back on. I'll let you know here that the audio is turned up all the way behind the scenes. So as soon as we get audio from that camera that is inside that courtroom, we will hear it again. Now, just before we left you, before the morning break, I should say, occurred, there was David Houle testifying. Now, the state had just wrapped up asking him questions, and now we expect that the defense is going to begin asking questions. And excuse me here, I'm kind of going to keep resting on my voice. I have still a lot of talking to do throughout today's broadcast. Not only that, but then at 1 p.m. for Brooklyn News Live. So I don't want to overdo it here. So going to be kind of remaining quiet. It's again, we are standing by for these hearings to get underway. Give me 1 second. as we are kind of continuing to stand by here, I will let you know that the family of Charlie Kirk, so the mother and the father of Charlie Kirk, are inside the courtroom. We also know that Erica Kirk is in the courtroom, so we are monitoring that. This court hearing could pick up here at any moment. As soon as it does, we will bring you there live. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to kind of take another one of those kind of commercial breaks that we just kind of did. When we come back, we will have more of this hearing, and we are continuing to follow, of course, the building evacuation. And it appears that camera is moving, so things might be getting back underway here. I'm standing by to see. Again, the audio's turned all the way up, so if audio comes on, we're here waiting for it. Sorry, I'm just kind of waiting a few moments to see if maybe this camera will pick things back up. Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got more of this hearing out of Provo, Utah, and so much more on this developing story out of New York City right now that we are continuing to monitor. More to come right after this.
We'll go ahead and pick up where we left.
Alrighty, and right as we left you, things picking back up here. Let's take you back inside this courtroom for day 2 of the Kirk preliminary hearing, getting back underway after the morning break. Let's listen in.
When did you leave the SBI?
The State Bureau of Investigation?
Yes,
March of this year.
March of this year?
Yes.
So you were involved in this investigation from September to March, basically.
Yes.
And your new position at Post, what is your new position?
I'm an investigative sergeant.
So you investigate potential wrongdoing of police officers?
Correct.
Okay. So when you were first brought into this case in September, is it my understanding from your testimony that you were not engaged in any way with this event prior to getting a call after the shooting? Is that correct?
Correct.
Does the SBI on occasion assist other agencies with preparing for big events like this or not? Is that not typically something you do?
Not something that I've ever been involved with, no.
Okay. And what time did you arrive on campus that day?
I believe it was shortly after 1:30.
So approximately an hour after Mr. Kirk had already been removed from the...
Approximately, yes.
Okay. And were you involved in putting up any drones into the air? Were you part of that, or were you not
It's
involved?
not, no.
So how quickly after you arrived on scene did you become aware that you were actually going to be in charge of the scene?
I believe it was approximately an hour after, so what would have been approximately 2:30.
So for the first 2 hours, you were not in charge?
For the first 2 hours, I wasn't. I didn't arrive till 1:30, so no.
Okay. And once you came from on high that you were basically going to be in charge of the scene, what was your first priority? What were you focused on?
We were focused on, through our major crimes team and our lieutenant, putting together an investigative team and developing initial assignments and a plan as to what we were going to do moving forward.
And part of that is protecting any potential forensic evidence that may be found on the scene. That's clearly important, right?
Correct.
Preserving the scene, right?
Correct.
But it sounds like that's not really your area. That was more maybe Agent Falmina's area.
Agent Falmina was assigned to process and document the crime scenes. It was my understanding that the known scenes at that time, amid the chaos, had been contained and had been secured by the on-campus officers who were already on scene.
And what's your understanding of what the known scenes were? In other words, the area where there might potentially be evidence that you needed to process.
I know that the amphitheater area was cordoned off and managed as best it could with the number of people that were there. I was also made aware that there was a rooftop area that had been secured, and also an area off of the side of that building that had been secured by an officer.
And that building was the low-C building.
Correct.
Wasn't there also a bullet found on another building?
I believe an unfired bullet had been found on another building at some point during my time there on September 10th, yes.
Which building was that, sir?
I don't recall.
Was that considered a scene that was worth preserving?
It was not. My recollection is that that was accounted for as an ejected cartridge from an officer who had cycled his rifle.
Okay, I thought you said it was an unfired bullet, and now you're saying it was a
that's correct.
cartridge?
When a weapon is cleared, an officer would make his rifle ready, which would chamber around.
Oh, I got you.
My understanding was that that's how that was accounted for.
So an officer claimed that bullet belonged to him or her?
That's my recollection, is that was how it was accounted for.
And when was that accounted for?
I don't know specifically.
Do you remember what type of bullet that was?
I don't.
Was it a 30-06? Do you remember?
I don't.
Okay. Do you know where that bullet is now?
I don't.
Okay. So you had the amphitheater area that had to be preserved. And how far out did that stretch? The entire amphitheater or just the area around the tent or what?
My understanding was the entire amphitheater area was cordoned off, and there were attempts to secure the campus itself with a perimeter of officers who were monitoring or preventing people coming and going.
When you arrived on the scene, were you aware that an individual had been taken into custody?
I had heard that, yes.
Did you ever have any interaction with that individual?
I did not.
And were you advised at any point that that person was no longer a person of interest?
Information was passed down that the individual was not considered to be a suspect in the shooting.
And when was that, time-wise?
I don't recall specifically, but I know I was on campus when I had heard.
So whoever arrested him as a potential suspect got that wrong. He wasn't the actual suspect, right?
Sorry, got what wrong?
That he was the shooter.
The person I believe to be the shooter was not the individual who was taken into custody, correct?
And then was there anybody else taken into custody as a person of interest?
There were several people who were detained for questioning and who were interviewed throughout the investigation.
And none of those people were they were all ultimately cleared by you or somebody connected with you?
Correct.
And were there any other guns confiscated on the scene that day?
There were other firearms that were located on the scene, yes.
How many guns were confiscated that day?
I don't know specifically confiscated, but I know that there was a firearm found in a backpack that was accounted for during the day.
What type of firearm was that?
It was a handgun.
Any other guns that were found on the scene?
Not that I recall.
Do you recall an individual named Noah Gonzalez being interviewed?
I don't recall that name specifically.
Let me see if it refreshes your memory that he was an off-duty, I think maybe trooper that was on the scene that day and that was involved in recovering the holster. Does that refresh your memory?
I know that a trooper was interviewed having been on scene. I don't recall if it was Gonzalez. I don't recall the name, but I do know there was a trooper that was interviewed, yes.
Okay. And just a moment, Your Honor. And do you recall the trooper that was interviewed saying that there was actually a gun found in that holster?
I do not.
You do not?
No.
Okay. Can we pull up? Exhibit Hole 13 and just show it only to the witness for right now? All right, can we go to page 2 of that report? Do you recognize this report? Have you reviewed it as part of your investigation duties?
I do recognize the report now, yes.
Okay, and this is a report prepared by actually Mr. Davis, who's going to testify later in this matter. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, and on page 2, this is the interview of Noah Gonzalez. Is that right?
That's what it stated on page 1, yes.
And he's an off-duty trooper who happened to be there that day?
Correct.
And do you see on the second paragraph, does that refresh your memory about whether Trooper Gonzalez believed there was a gun found in a holster in that area of the amphitheater?
Trooper Gonzalez included in his report that there was a gun, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. When did you first personally go up to the roof of the Losi building? Do you remember the time of that?
I don't recall. I know it was dark when I went up to the roof, so it would have been later that evening.
And at the time you went up there was already crime scene tape that had been placed around it?
There was an officer standing security.
Right. And to your knowledge, as the head of the investigation, did they ever find any bullets or casings anywhere on the Losi roof?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Did they ever find any bullets or casings anywhere around the Losi building?
When you say around the Losi building, you mean how close? Like immediately around the Losi building?
Correct.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. And then you've been talking a lot about a timeline here that seemed, you talked about it when you were watching the video, but you also talked about the fact that you developed a timeline, is that right?
Correct.
And can you pull up hole 1, please? I'm pulling up on your screen your report that you prepared. Do you recognize that?
I do, yes.
And what's the date that you drafted that report?
That looks like September 14th. It says date created.
And that's the place where, if you could go to page 2, please. Do you see down at the bottom where you summarize Sergeant Bricker's report listing the timeline?
Yes.
Okay, and so it was actually Sergeant Bricker that prepared the timeline, is that right?
He prepared a timeline.
And you incorporated that into your report?
No, I created a timeline.
You created your own timeline?
Yes.
Separate from the one that's in this report?
Yes, using information obtained in the investigation.
And when did you create that timeline?
Over the course of the investigation, over a long period of time, after a lot of reviewing video and investigative time.
So, as of September 14th, Tyler Robinson had already turned himself in to the authorities. Is that right?
Yes, I believe he turned himself in on September 11th.
So, prior to the time that Tyler Robinson turned himself in, had you all prepared a timeline?
A documented written timeline?
Yes.
Not to my knowledge. I don't know when Sergeant Bricker produced his specifically.
And isn't it fair to say that as of the moment that Tyler Robinson voluntarily surrendered to authorities in Washington County, as of that moment, you all did not know who the shooter was. Is that right?
We had identified a person of interest, but we did not specifically know who the shooter was at that time.
Okay. And you became aware that Mr. Robinson was voluntarily surrendering how? How did you become aware of that?
That information came originally, I believe, from the Washington County Sheriff to the administration at the control center at the university on the evening of the investigation,
Okay.
or the second evening of the investigation.
All right, we're going to get back to that in a minute, but I just wanted to get the timeline down. All right, now I want to go back to the videos that we've seen and the question that I just asked before, which is it fair to say that nothing about the video of the individual on the roof revealed to you, you couldn't see facial features, you couldn't see what they were wearing, correct?
Of the individual on the roof?
Correct.
I know that there was a meeting to discuss perhaps a pattern on the front of the shirt that was observed when the individual was jumping off of the roof.
Okay, that's fair. But at that time, as of the 11th, before Mr. Robinson turned himself in, you all had not been able to determine that, is that right?
Excuse me. Determine who he was or
No.
determine distinguishing features?
Determine distinguishing features of the video
Yeah.
of the person on the roof.
Yes, we had a person of interest and those images were released to the press.
You're talking about the ones in the stairwell from the?
Correct,
From the parking garage.
correct.
But the video on the roof was not distinguishable, fair?
That video as a standalone
Yes,
was not, no.
okay. And in fact, the video on the roof, well, strike that. Is it true that you had some spectators that you interviewed that had gotten a photograph a few seconds before the shooting of someone on the roof?
Sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Did you, at some point in your investigation, collect from two young men who were present at the event a video that they had taken of someone on the roof about 10 seconds before the shooting?
Yes, a video, yes, not photographs. A video was collected from an individual who had a video.
And ultimately, some screenshots were taken out of that video, is that right?
By,
By you?
not by me, no.
Okay. That's fine. It could have been someone else.
Okay.
But did you see the video that those young men took?
If you're referring to the video that is looking north and shows an individual dressed in dark clothing on the corner of the roof,
Yes.
if that is the video, I have seen that video, yes.
Did you review the interview of those young men?
I did not.
Do you know how they described the person on the roof?
I don't know if I read it or if I heard it, but my understanding was they believed it was Overwatch or some kind of a police Overwatch for the event,
Okay.
if that's my recollection.
And do you remember anything specific about the person's build that they discussed when they described the person on the roof?
I do not know.
Okay. There is a portion of the video after the individual jumped off the roof, which we all saw here, where the individual crosses, I believe it's Campus Drive. Is that right?
Correct?
And there's a moment where the individual waits and there's two cars that pass in front of him, right in front of him.
Correct?
And is this the moment where you are submitting that he was holding a gun in his hand?
As he crossed the road?
Yes.
From my observations, would show that he's carrying an object in his hand that's concealed or in a bag, and it is long and has the appearance, based on my training and experience, it could be a firearm.
But do you see a gun anywhere? The actual gun?
In the video?
Yeah.
No.
All right. And did anybody that was driving by on Campus Drive that day report to you or any other investigative entity, hey, we just drove by a guy with a gun who was leaving campus and he was standing right by my car?
We did not receive any reports to that effect, no.
Okay. Also, when you were revealing the timeline, exactly how long was there between when the person was prone on the roof and when the shot was taken? Do you recall?
If you would like to replay the video, I can time it for you, but I don't recall. It was, my guess, I would estimate between 15 and 30 seconds.
So between 15 and 30 seconds to lay flat, take a shot, and get up and run off, right?
I think you asked how long he was prone. I
Right.
think it took longer for him to crawl into position
Okay.
and then establish a position and then take the shot. He appeared to be in prone for approximately 15 to 30 seconds, but the video would verify that.
Okay, thank you. All right. I want to talk to you for just a minute about the video that was taken. And I'm not going to get into I'm not going to show it, just so that in case anybody's concerned about leaving the courtroom, I'm not going to show it. But there was a video that was taken by Mr. Ty Phillips from behind the individual that was speaking to Mr. Kirk.
Correct?
And it showed like a dead-on view of Mr. Kirk and his parts of his security team. Is that right? And then you also have video that you described that shows the back of the tent at the moment the shot happened. Is that right? Behind Mr.
Are
Kirk.
you referring to the UVU video in the breezeway?
Yes.
We have that video, yes.
Okay. And can we pull up the last video, the last clip, 49? I want to show you, just you, this clip. That is a little clip from that video under the breezeway that's behind the tent, right?
Correct.
And just to be clear, this area behind the tent would not have been visible to anybody that was on the Losi building. Is that fair?
I can't answer that question.
Yeah, sure.
And Ms. Nestor, as you're playing this, are you just being cognizant if the sound is on or not?
I don't want the sound. Please.
Okay, I just wanted
not-
to
Thank you for bringing
clarify.
that. Thank you.
All right.
No sound. I just want only the witness to look at it. So can you just watch this clip for just a minute? This one little clip of behind the breezeway at the time of the shot.
That's fine. And so just as a reminder to all the parties, if it's on your monitor, please be cognizant of that. It will not be displayed on the main monitor. Ms. Nestor, you may proceed.
Thank you. Is it playing? Okay. Do you remember that? Does that refresh your memory of what's in that clip?
Yes.
And having reviewed that, at the time the shot was fired, there was no one standing directly behind the tent. Is that correct?
You'd have to show me it again. I wasn't specifically looking for that.
Okay.
But I can answer that question if I can view the video again.
Okay. And just before you do that, I think you testified before that Mr. Kirk would have been dead center behind that banner. Is that right?
Approximately.
Okay, so what I'm asking is if anyone behind that banner, dead center behind Mr. Kirk, if there was any people standing there. Go ahead.
So there's a videographer on the right side of the tent, and then I can only see as far as the video allows me to, so I can't speak to whether there's anybody out of frame who could have been behind the tent.
But what you can see, is there anyone directly behind the middle of the tent?
Yes, there's a videographer stood behind the tent.
To the right?
Yes, behind the tent.
Correct. But directly in the middle of the tent, is there anyone standing?
There's no one stood in the middle behind the tent, no.
Thank you. All right, I want to talk now about the TP. You can take it down off of the screen. Thank you. I want to talk now about the TPUSA video that you got. That was the angle that was taken from behind Mr. Kirk while he was talking, looking out at the audience during when the shot was fired. Do you remember that video?
The visual impulse videos?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Is it true that Visual Impulse provided 4 videos?
Yeah, I believe there were 4 total videos that encompassed everything that they provided to us, yes.
But the one that you showed, that's only one of the 4 that they provided to you?
That one that was shown had a Bates number. It was an item that was provided by Utah County Attorney's Office.
Okay, but were there more that you haven't seen in this courtroom, in this prelim, that you got from?
There's the original footage.
Okay. But were there other angles that are not shown here in this prelim?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get to. Thank you. All right. Were you involved when the gun was located in the forest area?
I was not involved in the search for the gun, no.
Did you get notice when it was located?
From the footage that we reviewed, we identified an area that we believed could be potentially of evidentiary value. and then it was secured, and then I was notified that as a result of that search, a gun had been located, yes.
Were you involved in the processing of that gun? In other words,
I was not.
boxing it, shipping it, sending it wherever it was going to go to be
I
analyzed?
was not, no.
Okay, thank you. All right, now I want to shift to the autopsy for just a moment. You were not present at the autopsy, is that right?
I was not.
Okay. So anything you know about the autopsy was not from personal observation?
No, other than from my meeting with the medical examiner and his report, no, I was not present.
Did you meet with the medical examiner after he had conducted the autopsy?
I did, yes.
And when you met with him, did you provide him information about what you all had learned in your investigation so far?
We didn't have any reason to provide any investigative information to him. The purpose of the meeting was to establish what information he could provide to us.
Well, in fact, on the front page of the medical examiner's report, he talks about the investigation and information he learned. Did he learn that from you, or did he learn it from someone else?
It would be my recollection that he did not learn that from us, but I couldn't speak to how he did learn about it.
Okay, so you didn't share with him your conclusions about what happened or how Mr. Kirk was injured or anything like that?
That's my recollection.
Okay, thank you. And isn't it also true that fingerprints that were taken from Mr. Kirk and autopsy photos were provided to you on a CD?
Yes.
Was there anything else provided to you from the autopsy other than that?
Other than the CD and the report?
Yes.
Not to me, no.
Okay. You did mention not to you. Were you aware of anything else from the autopsy going to anyone else?
I believe standard practice is anything of evidentiary value that the medical examiner collects is transferred through a chain of custody.
And are you aware of anything that was transferred after Mr. Kirk's autopsy?
I'm aware that there were items transferred for evidence, yes.
What items?
I believe some fragments of a bullet casing. I know Mr. Kirk's personal items to be returned to the family. That's all I can recall off the top of my head.
Do you know how many fragments from the bullets?
I don't.
Now, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Ring camera that you obtained. And you interviewed a woman named Ms. Noble, is that right? To get that Ring camera that we watched with the car on the outside?
We interviewed her to verify the authenticity of the video, yes.
And were you involved in that interview?
With Miss Noble, yes.
And do you recall what they told you about what they remember seeing in and around that car that night?
I don't recall. I just know we were there to verify the video. I didn't conduct an interview with Miss Noble at that time.
Okay. Can we please bring up whole... Sorry, just a moment. Let's see. Whole 48. This is Miss Noble's interview. Do you have it? All right, do you remember that? Looking at that interview, does that refresh your recollection?
I remember reading the report at some point, yes.
And do you remember that the Nobles told you that the driver of the vehicle was bald?
I do remember that being in the report, yes.
And you didn't mention that today when you were talking about that Ring camera, did you?
I did not.
And did they also tell you there were 3 other people in the car?
Yes, I believe they thought that was the case.
Okay. I want to go back, if I can, to the scene itself, the preservation of the actual scene where Mr. Kirk passed. Did you all have canine dogs at any point that sniffed that area?
I don't know specifically that area, but I do know that canines were present, or a canine was present on the day.
But you don't know what task the canine was given?
My understanding was that it may have been used in an effort to track an individual that had jumped off the roof, but I don't know for certain.
And obviously that didn't produce any results, or we would have heard about that, right?
Yeah, not that I was made aware of.
Okay. Do you know when the tent and the stuff was actually removed from the scene?
I don't. I would imagine it had been at least a couple of days, if not longer than that, before anything was removed from the scene.
You didn't have to give permission to remove the tent?
Me, personally?
Right.
No.
So you're not sure when it was removed?
No.
And were you involved in the decision to pave over the dirt that was under the tent?
At UVU?
Uh-huh.
No.
Did you know that happened?
Only because it was in the news.
All right. But you don't know when or who ordered that?
Nope.
And it's true that during the time before Mr. Robinson turned himself in, you all received lots and lots of tips from the public. Is that fair?
Correct?
You received tips of death threats that Mr. Kirk had received before, the day before the shooting? Is that right?
I'm sorry, did we receive threats that Mr. Kirk had received before the event, or?
Let me clarify. That
Thank
was a
you.
confusing question. As you were going through tips that the public was giving you, did you receive tips about online death threats that had been made against Mr. Kirk prior to his death?
There was a huge variety of tips and information and suggestions that were being provided by the public.
Okay, and a lot of those, some of those filtered through you, right?
Some of them filtered their way down to us, but predominantly that was being handled by our State Information and Analysis Center that had been set up.
Okay. And you also got multiple tips about potential suspects, people who thought they recognized people in the picture, right?
Yes, there were different calls and information provided by the public.
And you had quite a few of those.
Correct.
And then Mr. Robinson turned himself in, right?
Yes.
And is it your understanding that the individual they used to facilitate Mr. Robinson turning himself in was someone known to Mr. Robinson personally that had been connected to law enforcement?
I know he was known to the family. I don't know his connection specifically with Mr. Robinson, but I am aware that someone was used to facilitate Mr. Robinson turning himself in.
And were you aware that he was one of his Boy Scout leaders? Did you know that?
I think I had heard that at some point. There was a connection. I didn't recall specifically what it was.
And Mr. Robinson, in fact, no police went to go arrest him. He drove himself, or he was driven with his parents to the Washington County Sheriff's Department, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
And he voluntarily walked in.
That's also my understanding, yes.
And that was the first moment you ever knew his name connected with this case.
Yeah, aside from the image that we had, that was the first time that we had a name of an individual who had taken responsibility, yes.
And did you personally ever meet with Mr. Robinson?
I did not.
And as far as you know, Mr. Robinson did what he said he was going to do. He told the police he was coming peacefully, he was coming with his parents, and that's exactly what happened.
I don't know any of the specifics of how he was arranged to turn himself in.
Okay.
In terms of what you've described, I just know that it was being facilitated with the sheriff's office.
Okay. Court's indulgence for just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you, Agent Hall. I tender the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you. Redirect by the state.
Just going to go back to a few things that Ms. Nestor asked you about. First of all, the unfired bullet that you referred to. It's your understanding that that bullet was accounted for?
That's my recollection, yes.
Okay, and it possibly belonged to an officer that could have maybe been clearing his weapon.
Yes, that's what I recall being told about that particular item, yes.
Are you aware of, if on the 10th, there were police officers present that were actually securing buildings and securing rooms there at UVU?
I know prior to my arrival, it was a dynamic and active scene that I believe was originally being treated that there was an active shooter on campus. So there was a large, rapid response of law enforcement who were actively trying to clear, secure, and ensure that the campus was safe, if that answers the question.
The entire campus?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And what types of officers were there clearing the campus?
Originally, there would have been probably local units who would have responded, but subsequently, specialty teams would have been deployed to do a more methodical search of the campus and what we would call a clearing of the campus.
And those specialty teams and any other officers, how were they equipped? Like what type of equipment were they
I
carrying?
believe most officers carry a sidearm, a handgun, and most officers in this day and age are equipped with a rifle platform as well.
Okay. When you said that it was possible that round was from an officer clearing his weapon, what exactly do you mean by that?
Our standard practice in our department is to carry a rifle cruiser ready, which
I'm sorry?
we carry our rifles in a situation which is called cruiser ready.
What does that mean?
It means we don't have a round chambered. So if an officer deployed with his rifle, he would chamber a round. Once he had done whatever task it was that he was doing in order to put that weapon back, he would eject the magazine and eject the round. Sometimes in doing so, rounds are dropped or not accounted for.
Okay. Have you personally done that yourself?
We do that at training, and I've done that in the field as well, yes.
Okay. And you're aware of, is that something that's common among police officers in this situation?
I believe for most agencies, that's how they carry their weapons, but I can't speak specifically to agencies outside my own.
Do you have any idea how many officers were dedicated or sent out to clear the campus?
I can tell you I had to park on University Avenue and walk all the way onto campus between hundreds of police cars, so I would say hundreds, if not 1,000 officers, high hundreds would have responded to the campus that day.
Now I'm going to ask you about, Ms. Nestor asked you about your observation of seeing Mr. Robinson with something in his hand. And I think she was asking you about Mr. Robinson just prior to crossing Campus Drive, following the shooting. Do you remember that question?
Yes, I think I was asked whether he had a gun or I had seen a gun in his hand in the video.
And you said that you did see something in his hand?
Correct.
Okay, I want you to go back as far as you can remember. At what point, after Mr. Robinson stood up on top of the Losi building and ran across, I believe to the northeast corner, when did you first notice in that video something in his hand?
The first time you can clearly notice he has something in his hand, without a doubt, is when he's on the white triangular portion on the northeast corner of the Losi building preparing to jump. It is very apparent he has an item in his hand.
Okay, and that's based on your observation of the videos?
Correct.
Okay. And is it easier to see in that enhanced video?
The zoomed version of the video makes it a lot clearer to see, yes.
Okay. And then after he drops down off of the roof of the Losi building, is there any time between that point in time and making his way to Campus Drive that you believe you see, again, something in his hand?
As Mr. Robinson lands on the grass, it's almost like he either drops it or goes into a crouched position, and then when he returns up from that, it is again clear that there is some kind of an item in his hand, yes.
Okay. Can you be more specific or describe in more detail
It
what that item might
it
be?
appears to be black, and it appears to be longer.
Okay, anything else about that item?
No.
Okay. I believe it was Exhibit 9, State's Exhibit 9 that Ms. Nestor pulled up on the screen, and she had you look at that. And I believe what you looked at was beginning a still image, but then a few moments or a few seconds of that video. And that's the UVU tunnel video, is that right?
The breezeway underneath the Hall of Flags, yes.
And the view is from behind, where I believe you testified that Mr. Kirk was on the other side of what appears to be a banner
Sure.
in that tunnel view.
Yes.
And on the other side of that banner is the tent and then the rest of the courtyard. Is that fair to
Correct.
say? Do you remember seeing the banner
Yes.
in the video? Okay, and
You're referring to the back of the pop-up tent?
correct, yes.
Okay, yes.
Okay. And do you remember, what do you remember about that banner?
It has some kind of an emblem on it, and it forms the back portion of the pop-up tent.
Is it opaque? Is it transparent? How would
No, you
describe
can't see through it. It's white,
Right.
and you cannot see through it, no.
And how much of the tunnel does that banner, I guess if it's opaque, obstruct?
I couldn't say. I'm assuming it's a 20 by 20 gazebo, so it would block out the area of the back of the tent that you can see. You would not be able to see through it. You would not be able to see through it from the audience side of the amphitheater.
And what about the tunnel side of that banner? Can you see through the tunnel side in the opposite direction?
You cannot, no.
Can you see Mr. Kirk on the other side of that banner?
You can't, no.
Okay. Well, we exhibited, or Ms. Nestor had you watch just, I believe, just a brief few seconds of that video. That exhibit is actually much longer than what we just looked at, or what Ms. Nestor had you look at. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. And leading up, and again, I'm referring to that view, that tunnel view of that surveillance camera, leading up to the shot, what's going on behind that banner?
There are representatives, I believe, of TPUSA, but there are representatives of TPUSA. There are law enforcement representatives. I don't know if there's any student body, but essentially people are moving to and fro behind that area. A couple of individuals are retrieving items from a vehicle, but there's consistent movement behind and in that area.
Okay. Directly behind the banner?
Correct.
Ms. Nestor asked you about the wooded area that Mr. Robinson entered. Well, Ms. Nestor brought that up, and I believe your testimony has been, between today and yesterday, that you witnessed Mr. Robinson enter a wooded area on at least 2 occasions. Is that fair to say?
Yes, on his second visit to the campus and on the visit where the incident took place.
At least on those 2 occasions, did the wooded area that he entered, were they different parts of the wooded area, or was it the same parts of the?
They appeared to be the same.
You're aware that a rifle was eventually discovered?
Yes.
And was it your understanding that that rifle was discovered in a wooded area?
It was in the wooded area where we believe Mr. Robinson entered the wooded area, yes.
And that rifle was discovered on the 10th?
Yes.
Ms. Nestor asked you about a variety of tips including threats to Mr. Kirk, I think before the event?
Yes.
And did you follow up on those tips?
After tips have been put through a process and been analyzed and screened, anything that appeared to have relevance to either the investigation or a credible threat was managed by the various entities involved, yes.
Okay. So managed by law enforcement, so.
Correct.
Did you personally follow up on any of the tips?
I don't think I personally did, but I worked closely with people who did.
The point is, I guess, is that those tips were followed up on. Is that fair to say?
To the best of our ability, yes.
Okay. And then Ms. Nestor also asked you about tips, I believe, of people reporting to police that they felt like they knew who the shooter was.
Yes.
Okay. So identities of possible shooters.
Correct.
Did law enforcement follow up on those tips as well?
They did.
Ms. Nestor, finally, Ms. Nestor asked you, she asked you whether Mr. Robinson voluntarily went to the sheriff's office down in southern Utah. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And that was the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Yes.
Okay. You understood that he turned him, well, he showed up there voluntarily. Is that right?
Correct.
What was your understanding as to why he was showing up there voluntarily?
He had informed, I believe, his immediate family that he had been involved in the shooting and that he wanted to turn himself in.
Okay. Nothing further. In the video that we've already talked about, the video where Mr. Robinson stands up and runs across the top of the LoC building, is there, do you notice whether at that point, after he stood up until you see him last, at least in that part of the video, do you notice whether he's walking or running with a limp?
He is not. From the time he left after going over the railing, when we see him on the video move out to the position.
Correct.
And then leave the position, there is no longer a visible limp or gait.
Thank you.
Ms. Nestor.
No follow-up, Your Honor.
All right. May Agent Hull be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Agent Hull, thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Can we have just a minute to meet with
All right, let's take a 5-minute break and allowing parties to confer. Court is in a brief recess.
Alrighty, a brief recess called there as we are continuing to listen into the live court proceedings there. Day 2 of the Charlie Kirk preliminary hearing underway. Just a reminder here as we were behind the scenes kind of preparing for Brooklyn News Live. Going to come to you all at 1 p.m. So as we are preparing for that behind the scenes here, we're going to take a quick break here. As you've heard, just finished up, it appears David Hull is done testifying for today. He was testifying late yesterday and now into today, even after the morning break here. So just taking a break there. What we're going to do here is sneak in a quick break right here. Our coverage continues in moments. And welcome back here to this Brooklyn News Special Report as we continue our coverage there. Again, as you are watching there, we heard the testifier there Brian will finish up his testimony as he was testifying in court for, again, late into yesterday when he began his testimony, and then early into today post the morning break he continued his testimony. Now we're seeing a 5-minute break here after him. It appears our next witness is going to be likely up next, or the prosecution is going to press them. Again, as you'll notice, the defense takes a different kind of stance on how they ask their questions. They have a little more of kind of, I don't know how to put it, like an attitude behind it. And that is simply because they are trying to, this is prosecution's witnesses, so they are trying to find essentially wrongdoing. They are trying to find mistakes within the testimony, kind of like bare spots, blank points in the testimony where there is still at least where they're trying to open it up where there is a new box of questions that can come out there. So that is what we are seeing now live in court. Let's take it back out right now live to the courtroom as we are standing by for things to get back underway. I'll turn the audio all the way up here as soon as it begins. We have the feed pulled up and we will take you there. Just want to note also, we talked a little about it a few moments ago. 1 second, you guys. Behind the scenes here, we are preparing for Brooklyn News Live, which again is going to air at 1 p.m. today, so you guys can join us coming up for that. We're going to air about 14 minutes of video from this trial, so you guys got to be ready for this, from this hearing, I should say, excuse me. 14 minutes of video is what we have right now. We're going to show all of the new video that was revealed this morning coming up on Brooklyn News Live, so we got all of that for you. And then we're also going to talk about that collapsed building in New York that we talked about a little earlier today, plus Trump in Turkey for this NATO summit. We're going to talk about that. So much coming up on Brooklyn News Live. You guys got to tune in right now. So at 1 p.m. So pretty much after this 5-minute break, they're likely going to take have a little more testimony, and they're going to take a lunch break coming up closer to 1. And when 1 comes is when we're going to kind of be transferring all of our stuff over to Brooklyn News Live, and we will have a live edition of Brooklyn News Live coming up for you. So stick with us for that. Again, that is coming up here in just a few moments at 1 p.m. So just over 36 minutes. 37 minutes, I should say, is when we're going to have Brooklyn News Live. So stick with us for that. We've been on the air this morning for already 2 hours and 23 minutes, and it's just going to continue coming up here in a little bit. So stick with us for that. The DOJ and California officials soon to have a press conference as well. Sorry, just checking some of the other news feeds that we watch, and it looks like that is one that another news organization is picking up right now. So we're watching tons of different stories. We've got tons coming up for you coming up today on Brooklyn News Live. We'll let you know that we are also monitoring video. This is that collapsed building. Actually, we have it for you. There's video of that live in New York City. I said collapsed building as if it is already collapsed. It is not collapsed. It is in fear of collapsing, and that is what officials are watching there. And I believe the president is in Turkey, and I know that there was a live video we had a few moments ago. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find it, because Turkey is the host right now of a NATO summit. Okay, it does not look like we have that feed anymore, because this is what we're getting right now from that feed. It's feed A, and there is nothing going on. So we'll just continue monitoring that feed throughout our hour on Brooklyn News Live, and we'll bring it to you if there is anything on there. That is coming up also today on Brooklyn News Live. So a lot going on today, a lot happening, a lot that we are following right now. Right now, though, we are waiting for this 5-minute break to wrap up. When it does, we'll take you back out live to the courtroom where, again, David Houle just finished up his testimony on the stand. The prosecution finishing up the re-examination on David Houle. The defense was trying to find, as I explained it, and I probably wasn't the best way, but, kind of, they're trying to open up a new box of questions, or trying to find something that there is, again, people are now like, okay, more questions to ask. Of course, these preliminary hearings, the 5-day set of preliminary hearings, is for the judge to determine whether the prosecution has enough evidence to take this case to trial. So that is what we are going to be watching all week. It's only day 2. We're going to be here for you every morning, beginning at 10 a.m. with live coverage of this all. Of course, at about 2 p.m. is when we're going to wrap up our coverage. So 10 to 1, and then from 1 to 2, which 1 to 2 is likely when they're going to have their lunch break. So we actually have a full set of other headlines. I know yesterday on Brooklyn News Live, we essentially just re-aired this, not re-aired, but aired the live hearing. So that's not exactly what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be having big stories. The stories making big headlines today, and there was a lot of them because we're also going to talk about the new allegations with Graham Plattner. Sorry, you guys, as you guys have been watching this hearing, I've been kind of doing my research behind the scenes here, trying to multitask, listening into both. But the new major allegations made, an ex now accusing Graham Plattner of sexually assaulting her. So Graham Plattner, of course, says that's all false, but now we're even seeing, I'll just kind of reveal a little bit of the news we're going to talk about, but Bernie Sanders, who defended him in the beginning of some of the allegations that we were seeing Graham Plattner in the beginning of this race before the primary that he was facing, now we're seeing that he is going to call for him to be dropped out of this race. So we're following that. So many more headlines coming out. We're going to read you that piece of that political story coming up on Brooklyn News Live. Again, that is at 1 p.m. today. We'll have that coming up for you. So big edition of Brooklyn News Live. We're going to talk about this Midtown building that has since been evacuated. We were just taking a live look at it here. We're working on getting some new video in that shows the structure inside, and really it scares you. I would be scared to even be near that building, honestly. If once you see this video, which is coming up here in just about 30 minutes or so interesting as we see all of these big stories that are making headlines this hour. We're going to air for you a press conference from New York City as well that happened a few moments ago. While we were on the air, you might have noticed we kind of put up what we call behind the scenes a 2-box, which is essentially when you have, 2 boxes, 2 different feeds in each. We were monitoring that press conference, so we're going to air that press conference in full for you coming up today on Brooklyn News Live. So bunch of stories coming up. We've got a lot of news happening today and a lot that we are going to bring you today. Also, there's a primary election that we are watching. So really, as I keep talking about the news of today, there's a lot going on and a lot that we are following. Also, I don't know if you guys have been following the wedding of Taylor Swift. I know we've covered it a few days in a row now on Brooklyn News Live. We're now also awaiting for pictures, some type of look into this wedding. We're waiting for something so we can show you guys what that wedding may have looked like. Of course, it happened at Madison Square Garden, and they got married Friday before the 4th of July. If you guys were with us, we were on the air for a Brooklyn News Special Report as we were celebrating, bringing in our coverage, celebrating America 250. Happy birthday, America, guys. But as we were talking about that, the wedding of Taylor Swift has literally happened just seconds as we were on the air, where they put up that sign at Madison Square Garden in New York City saying just TNT. Taylor and Travis obviously married there, so we were waiting for an inside look there. What we're going to do right now here on this Brooklyn News Special Report is sneak in another a little bit of a commercial break. We're going to keep you live on the courtroom. As soon as it comes back, as soon as this camera starts moving and we see court proceedings begin, looks like it might be coming right now. Every time I say that, the court's, looks like might be getting audio now. Let's just turn it back up and begin listening in. The camera has just moved. We might be getting something here. Maybe not. Okay, quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back here live into this Brooklyn News Fast Track Report as we were standing by for court to resume, which it could at any moment now. They were set to take a 5-minute break. It's been more than 5 minutes now, but we're waiting for the court to pick back up as it will resume any moment now as we continue to stand by for it to do so. So we're live here. We're standing by for it to begin. As soon as it does, you see there, we're live here. We have the live feed pulled up for you, and we are awaiting for it to begin. We're gonna sneak it. We're gonna kind of continue on break here. I have to do an hour show coming up next hour, so I'm trying to keep my voice alive here. So another quick break, more to come. On the other side of that, we are waiting for court to resume, which it could again at any moment now. You're watching live. Okay, let's take you back live into the courtroom right now. Judge Tony Graff there continue to speak as we are expecting a second witness to come to the stand here, or a third witness, correction there, as you are again taking a look live. It looks like the lawyers for the media now speaking at the stand. I believe that's who that is. Let's listen in.
And I didn't know this was coming now. It could be a lengthy call.
All right, let me just, do you wish to identify what State's Exhibit 5.1 is?
Yes, Your Honor. Exhibit 5.1 is a self-authenticating 1102 statement issued by David Englehart from Turning Point USA.
All right.
And again, I say it's a self-authenticating document. As you can see there, it's got the admonition on page 1. The body of the 1102 statement is there on pages 1 and 2. I would say number 4 is kind of the foundational statement, paragraph 4, but the self-authentication portion is the notary acknowledgement on page 3.
All right. Turning to Mr. Novak.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. McBride. So the court, obviously, because the court can decide how much of this we discuss in open court, how much we discuss at the bar, so to speak, sidebar. There's initially a fundamental relevance problem with this 1102. There are other issues, but I think that just to help the court parse the evidentiary issues, we should start with the relevance. There are sub-issues. There's also a problem under 1102, because if the court looks at the last paragraph of this, Mr. Engelhardt, who is the purported author refers to himself in the third person, so it's not clear to me who actually wrote this report. And as Your Honor knows, 1102 says that prosecutors are not to assist witnesses in writing their own 1102 reports. That's not my primary concern, although I think it is an important issue because that's what the rules require. But the real question is relevance. And I guess the question is, does the court want me to do the speaking objection? Because the court said no speaking objections. Should we approach sidebar? How does the court want to handle it? The people can move their exhibits into evidence whenever they wish. I wasn't aware we were going to do it at this moment. I'm ready to proceed, but the question is how the court wants to handle these objections. I'm prepared to keep going in open court, but it's what the court referred to as a speaking objection.
No, I appreciate that. As it relates to, well, so here's my question for you, Mr. Novak. As you're, and again, I appreciate your discretion in highlighting that point. Do you anticipate your argument being of the nature that would defeat the purpose of, if the court does not admit this, that you've already let the cat out of the bag with your argument, or do you feel that you can make your argument without compromising what is in the 1102, so the purpose of excluding it is still preserved?
I'll go as far as I think we can go, and then we'll just see. I mean, I do think, I am not trying to conceal from anybody in the courtroom or the public our concerns about relevance. So why don't I, taking the court's lead, go forward publicly with my concerns about relevance. And if we reach a moment where it feels like further argument may deprive Mr. Robinson of his fair trial rights, we can approach.
All right, we'll proceed.
Okay, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to point out that this proposed exhibit, which is the 1102 statement of Mr. Engelhardt, is basically 4 paragraphs. The 4th paragraph identifies Mr. Engelhardt, although I say in the third person, as a pastor and as an attorney who was a friend and a counselor to Mr. Kirk and was involved in leadership of Turning Point USA. So that identifies who the author is. Beyond that, it's not really relevant to any of the issues before this court. Paragraphs 1, 2, and 3, paragraph 1 talks about Turning Point USA's status with the Internal Revenue Service, the purposes of Turning Point USA within the context of the Internal Revenue Code, and sort of what I'll just refer to generically as the goals and objectives of Turning Point USA. And it also then talks in the second paragraph about Mr. Kirk's relationship with TPUSA. None of this is unknown information, that he was a founder, that he was the chief executive officer, that he was the president of the board until his death. So I'm still not sure what the relevance is, and I guess actually what I should say is I don't believe there is any relevance of any of this information. Paragraphs 2 and 3 are, and actually I'm going to preface this. My discussion of this is within the context of the rules of evidence, and there's nothing that I'm going to say here that is meant to derogate, criticize, question Mr. Engelhardt's beliefs. What he says were Mr. Kirk's beliefs. What Mr. Engelhardt says he believes are tenets of Christianity. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is whether this document is admissible in this proceeding under the rules of evidence. Okay. So paragraphs 2 and 3 include not only Mr. Englehart's opinions, and now I'm going from relevance to opinion evidence. It's not clear to me whether it's lay opinion evidence, whether it's expert opinion evidence, but it's Mr. Englehart's opinions about a branch of Christianity, his opinions about a portion of the Bible. He quotes the Bible, and he talks about Mr. Kirk's religious beliefs. And I could go into more detail, but the court has the exhibit in front of it itself. So none of this is relevant. If the court looks at the information, that is the document which lays out the allegations against Mr. Robinson, when I use the word information, I'm talking about the court document. There are, with respect to certain counts, what Utah Code refers to as a victim targeting enhancement. That is alleged with respect to count 1. It is alleged with respect to count 2. It is alleged with respect to count 7. And may I step away just to get my laptop?
You may.
And as the court knows, but I want the record to be clear, when I refer to the what the information calls the victim targeting enhancement, that's Utah Code Section 76-3-203.14, which the code calls the victim targeting penalty enhancement. The information alleges, and this is, I'm emphasizing this, that Mr. Robinson intentionally selected Mr. Kirk because of Mr. Robinson's belief or perception regarding Mr. Kirk's political expression. And I'm going to focus, if I may, the court's attention on two things. One is, whose state of mind are we talking about when, or whose state of mind is the statute talking about? And what aspect of the victim targeting enhancement is being invoked here? The latter is the state invoking Mr. Kirk's political expression, and now I'm quoting the statute, as the personal attribute that the state alleges is the gateway to this penalty enhancement. And if the court will bear with me, because there's a reason why we have these hearings in public, there are various categories for alleging, I should say, there are various categories of personal attributes, that's the phrase the legislature uses, which authorize the pursuit of a penalty enhancement. And those personal attributes are listed in the statute A through R. I'm not going to read all of them because the court knows the law, but political expression is subsection K. That is separate and distinct from the personal attribute that the legislature calls religion, which is subsection M. So what we have is an allegation that the personal attribute, which is one of the elements of this enhancement, the allegation that Mr. Robinson selected Mr. Kirk was based on his political expression. That's actually the exact same word phrase, political expression, as is in the statute subsection K. The 1102 statement is predominantly about what Mr. Engelhardt describes as traditional Orthodox Christian values that he believes in, that he believes Mr. Kirk believed in. And I understand in today's world that there is a crossover between religion and politics. I think we can all acknowledge that. But the legislature and the information here are focused on political expression. So I'm concerned that the 1102 statement of Mr. Engelhardt goes far beyond the scope of what would be admissible if the state has it to prove that Mr. Robinson targeted Mr. Kirk because of Mr. Robinson's belief or perception concerning Mr. Kirk's political expression. The second element of this is that the victim targeting enhancement focuses on the allegation of what is in Mr. Robinson's state of mind, not what is in Mr. Kirk's views or deeply held beliefs, sincere religious beliefs. And so the evidence that the state needs to present is not what Mr. Kirk believed or said or what TPUSA stood for. It's what was in Mr. Robinson's head, if anything, about selecting Mr. Kirk because of Mr. Kirk's political expression, because that's the information. So why TPUSA exists, what its founding beliefs are, what its leaders' beliefs are, what Mr. Engelhardt believes Christianity is or is not relevant. And that's why we think it should not be received into evidence. There's a second level here, which is Mr. Engelhardt's statements about what is in the Bible, specifically Matthew chapter 9. And so I would just ask this court the hypothetical question. If the state asked the court to take judicial notice of a portion of the Bible in order to prove this enhancement, because I can't see where else it fits into this case, I think, if I may, the answer would be no, it's not relevant. So instead, what we have is the state trying to use the affidavit of Mr. Engelhardt pursuant to 1102 to get the court to essentially receive into evidence the same information. It doesn't really matter here, in this proceeding, what the book of Matthew says. It doesn't matter what Mr. Engelhardt thinks. And again, I say this with all due respect to Mr. Engelhardt, who I've never met. The book of Matthew means, or how one reconciles the book of Matthew as he sees it with other views on the topics that are there. I mean, I want to be careful and not suggest what other views are, because I shouldn't be testifying about different perspectives within the sort of the heading of religion. But it doesn't really matter for this proceeding what Mr. Engelhardt's views are, what Mr. Kirk's religious views were, what religious views TPUSA endorses, seeks to encourage others to adopt. None of that really matters. There are multiple opinions in this 1102 from Mr. Engelhardt, and it's not clear whether the state has thought about whether it's expert opinion or lay opinion. I happen to think that it's expert opinion that is not helpful to the trier of fact in this proceeding. That's your honor. There is nothing in this that helps the court resolve with respect to the victim targeting enhancement, whether Mr. Robinson intentionally selected Mr. Kirk because of Mr. Robinson's beliefs or perceptions regarding Mr. Kirk's political expression. If the state comes back up here and says, no, it's lay opinion, we still have the question of whether it's helpful to this court, because the court has to decide whether there is evidence of the target enhancement in the way I think I've structured it. So it's not relevant. It's not admissible lay opinion. It's not admissible expert opinion. There are two aspects of Rule 403, one of which I'm prepared to talk about publicly and one of which I think is appropriately discussed at sidebar because it does get into undue prejudice. The 403 here is that receiving this document into evidence is going to create confusion. It's going to create chaos, not by the trier of fact, but by the future jury pool in this case. For this court to make a ruling that Mr. Englehart's opinions about religion, about TPUSA's views on religious matters, that Mr. Kirk's views on religious matters are in any way what this case is about, is going to create significant confusion. And even if this court doesn't show the 1102 in open court, or the reporters who are here don't get to see it, or if the public doesn't get to see it, receiving it into evidence in light of the victim targeting enhancement that the state drafted and charged is just going to create confusion. There may be, outside of this case, litigation where TPUSA's purposes and its mission and its adherence to its mission are important, and Mr. Englehart's opinions about that may be important in some other context, in litigation, in public discussions. It's not important here. And when I say important, I'm saying it's not relevant. So there's a 403 issue with respect to confusion. There's a constitutional concern that this type of evidence being sanctioned by the court is going to suggest to the jury pool that this is a case about religion. This is not a case about religion. The state doesn't even allege this is a case about religion. The state alleges one enhancement based on Mr. Robinson's perceptions of Mr. Kirk's political expression. So I'm very concerned that this document, even being sanctioned by the court as admissible for any purpose in this proceeding, is going to interfere with Mr. Robinson's constitutional right to a fair trial, which I think is a, sort of an umbrella over parts of Rule 403. If at the time, if there is a trial, if Mr. Robinson is bound over, and if there is a trial, and if the state wants to proffer Mr. Englehart for some specific evidentiary purpose that I'm missing, then we can engage in that. But it seems to me that it's, again, a mixture of lay and expert opinion, which at this stage is more prejudicial than probative. The other part of the 403 issue we can discuss at sidebar whenever the court's ready.
Thank you, Mr. Novak. Turning to the state. And so just to give an overview, what I'm intending to do is address what Mr. Novak has presented, the state respond. I may have some questions limited to what's been presented now. Of course, that doesn't preclude addressing the second portion of that in whatever means is necessary to protect constitutional rights. But we're just focused on this portion right now.
Understood.
Thank you. Mr. McBride.
Your Honor, the evidence is relevant to 2 points. One is to the defendant's motive.
Alrighty, so the time is now 12:59. We have to get to Brooklyn News Live. So what we are going to do here is kind of end our live stream for the Brooklyn News Special Report right here, and then we will go to kind of, we're going to try to listen in for just a little bit longer over on Brooklyn News Live, however long this goes on. We're going to try to listen in here, and then we will, we're also going to fit in, of course, these other stories that we're following right now. So in the meantime, this will wrap up this Brooklyn News Special Report. Remember, you can follow all of our social media pages there on the bottom of your screen for the latest on news, weather, and so much more. And we've got your news, weather, and so much more coming up for you on this edition of Brooklyn News Live, starting here in just moments.